And now, Michigan Reimagined with Chris Buck.
All right. Through the years, I've highlighted different programs and subsidiaries of the Michigan State University Foundation and its fantastic entrepreneurial ecosystem for students and faculty. But today we get to hear from the executive director of the entire foundation, Mr. David Washburn. Welcome to the show, Dave.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure for sure. So, can you give the listeners a quick high-level overview of the MSU Foundation? What's the mission, and talk about a little bit about the programs and subsidiaries who help you fulfill that?
The Michigan State University Foundation was created in 1973 by then President Clifton Wharton. You probably know that name from attending events at the Wharton Center.
Yes.
But Dr. Wharton, I think, recognized back then that having a sort of university-connected nonprofit foundation to assist the university in a number of different endeavors would make sense, and a lot of universities were doing that at the time. And so that's when it was formed and by whom. And our early days were spent helping the university with a number of things related to intellectual property matters, trust functions for gifts and non-cash gifts, and other activities around the early fundraising activities. But we've evolved over time, and but that's the sort of earliest part of the story.
And you've got these different subsidiaries that you call them on your website, Spartan Innovations, Red Cedar Ventures, University Corporate Research Park. How do they all interlace, and what's kind of the identity of each of those entities to fulfill the mission of the foundation as a whole?
Those organizations really came into being, I think, in the last 7 years, and they came into being to help us execute a number of things around economic development related to the university. So, universities historically have had three distinct missions over their 200-year history, which and even longer, which is educating and graduating students, doing public service, and also doing research. And in the last 50 years, universities have adopted a fourth leg of the mission, which is, economic development through the commercialization of new ideas and new intellectual property that's created by faculty, staff, and students. And so we set up these organizations to help in that endeavor. So all four of them have very specific missions. But they all tie together nicely to create a comprehensive set of programs and services related to economic development.
Got it. And the fourth being Michigan Rise, which is a new funding system mechanism for startups in the truest sense. Is that accurate to say?
Yeah, that's right. I if you think in a sort of linear progression, Spartan Innovations is an organization that we call it a venture creation entity or venture creation services. They spend a lot of time working with our tech transfer office, our patent office, which is known as MSU Technologies, looking for new ideas that could possibly be the basis of a new startup company. So the venture creation apparatus is involved in really doing early stage business development, and business feasibility and business planning and coaching. And then we have two venture funds. We have actually three. Red Cedar Ventures has two separate funds, and then Michigan Rise. And then the last piece that sort of bookends this is our University Corporate Research Park. So that's related to our real estate and our placemaking business.
Got it. Okay. And your website references partners. So the MEDC, LEAP, our local economic development organization, and MSU Innovation Center. So what roles do they play in helping you achieve your goals?
Well, the MSU Innovation Center is under the organization of the Vice President for Research at MSU. And there's a number of functions that happen in that group that the biggest of which is probably the MSU technology. So anytime a faculty member or researcher on campus makes a discovery, they should disclose that invention to the university. And MSU Technologies is the organization that is sort of receives, the new inventions, because, similarly to working for, IBM or GM, if you invent something or discover something, while receiving a paycheck from the organization owns it, and that's how it works at universities as well. So MSU Technologies receives about 200 new invention disclosures every year, and so that's really the substrate of where our activities pick up is working closely with them to understand what new technologies have been discovered, what kind of things are they filing patents on, what new technologies are getting traction from the outside world, or what faculty members are interested in creating a startup company. So that's just a critical piece of our relationship. And the other area is MSU Business Connect is a part of the MSU Innovation Center as well, and they spend a lot of their time working with outside companies, so relationships with the university to do research, whether it's sponsoring research or getting involved in recruiting students, or getting involved in sorry, I'm having someone's calling in on my other line, and I apologize for that. So getting involved in corporate relationships. So that's how we're involved with them. With LEAP and with MEDC, LEAP is a local economic area partnership, which I think most of your listeners probably know of. We collaborate with them in a lot of different ways. And then we work with MEDC in a number of different ways, primarily with Michigan Rise, but many other collaborations with those two organizations.
Okay. So for listeners who really just think of Michigan State University as a place that their children go to for 4 years and they pay a big sum to get them educated and then they go out and find a job, what would they maybe be interested to know as some examples of your output? I mean, are there startup companies that people may be familiar with, or are there buildings or other physical structures that people may not realize are affiliated or the product of the foundation?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the all of the organizations that we've assembled and started to build, I think, create opportunities that maybe go beyond the traditional opportunities you find in the classroom. If you're a student and you have an interest in trying to create a new app, or you have a passion for some area, and want to build a nonprofit or build a company around some idea or something that's really important to you, there are resources at the university and also at the foundation that can help a student do the types of sort of planning and organizing to launch such an organization or such an entity. So I think those services matter. We have entrepreneurs in residence who help people do these types of things. We have accelerator programs where one can apply and go into different accelerator programs that we run. We have facilities in space, so if you need an office, or if you need a place to do some of the work, we have some facilities that can be utilized there. So I think it's a combination of physical assets, but also programmatic assets that are available to students and faculty and staff to help.
And I've seen some of these examples, and I mean, they stray anywhere from food offerings to transportation innovations to science, and I mean, and like you said, apps for cell phones and things of that nature. So it really does run the gambit. It's not really tilted towards one particular discipline or output, if based on my observation. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's right. We get innovations coming from all corners of campus, and so we see things, sort of cancer therapeutics. We see ag technologies. We see solar. We see windows that have a coating that can grab solar arrays and convert that into power. We have an organization that we've started up that is building industrial diamonds. So we have everything from kind of health tech, software, biomed, med tech, lots of different areas, and we're sector agnostic because the university is such a large research engine that we get things from all corners, and so we don't tend not to concentrate in specific sectors in our investments and our activities. We support all.
Right. So now, do most large universities or most universities in general have a foundation that has this kind of a similar mission, or is Michigan State unique? I mean, I'm sure you're proud and can differentiate why maybe you're better than some others, but is the foundation concept from a higher education standpoint, is that common or is that uncommon?
It's pretty common. So many have these foundations. You tend to, the public universities tend to have them more than private universities. Privates don't need them, but many public universities have them. The setups vary, and the structure and function vary. Many of the foundations that exist today tend to be fundraising organizations. So you tend to see organizations, university-related foundations that are involved in university advancement and large fundraising campaigns. That's not what we do, but that's what probably the majority of them do. So we're more like a research foundation.
Right.
We just don't have it in our name, but there are some research foundations that look like ours, and we look like them. And you can look at Purdue, you can look at Wisconsin, to name a few examples. And there's others around the country. But we're unique in sort of our mission and the types of things that we do and that we don't do.
Well, it seems like a real differentiator that maybe people need to learn more about, because it's very special that you're doing your work in our community and not just in our community as well, but to be affiliated with Michigan State University as a student, a faculty member, an alumnus, it's a factor of pride, and it's a real significant output that you put into the community. So thank you for your work. Let me ask you this. How has the coronavirus pandemic affected your work, if at all?
Well, we're a pretty small organization. We're less than 25 professionals, so we were able to, adapt quickly and move home. So I think in terms of our operations, we haven't had any major hiccups in sort of our day-to-day stuff. I do worry about the impact and the effects of COVID on kind of the psychological and mental impact. I mean, not only for our team, but I think for the whole planet. Just this is a really, really strange time, and I do think about that a lot, and hope that individuals and organizations, there's a whole bunch of things that folks can do to try to stay connected. I think working at home is neat for a little bit, but I think most people, that are ready for that to be over with, and ready to get back into an environment where they're running into colleagues and going out to lunch and working together. I think most are ready for that. So.
Well, sure. I would imagine that the energy and the ideas must flow much better when the students are on campus and the faculty are fully engaged, that there's just this buzz of, 60, 70,000 people when you include everyone walking around these acres versus teleporting and doing things from home. So I got to believe that the stimulation and the output of these great works that you're doing are going to be vastly improved when people are back on campus, which hopefully will be soon.
Yes, I hope so too.
Wonderful. Well, with the few seconds left we've got, I wanted to remind everyone we've been talking to Executive Director of the Michigan State University Foundation, Mr. David Washburn. You can find more information about the foundation at msufoundation.org. And I encourage everyone to take a look. There's a lot of great work going on over there. Thanks for joining me today, Dave.
Chris, thank you for having me, and thank you for running this show. I think it's a great service as well, and I really appreciate you inviting me on.
My pleasure. Have a great day.